Sonata.
Yeah, so hello everyone. We will be starting in 2 minutes. Yeah, so hello everyone. We welcome one and all to this placement preparation session by Code Club JUSL. Learn from the ones who cracked it. So today we are here for especially the placement preparation of core department and learning from the ones, the seniors who cracked it, the technical jobs on campus from core department, and also to learn more about the structure of the screening test, which is going to be held in a month or two time. So moving on to the next slide. So as you can see, the screening test is a test conducted by Code Club JUSL for shortlisting students from the core department for setting or technical jobs on campus. And as you can see, the main screening test will be consisting of 4 to 6 DSA questions based on varying difficulties from easy, medium, and hard. And the test will be conducted in an offline mode on college premises. So for all those who have not attended any offline coding contests, we will be conducting a few mock tests so that it helps them simulate the actual test environment for practice. And the exact platform and the logistics will be informed to all the participants in due time. The tentative date as of now is mid of July. This will be subject to change, and if any changes are there in logistics or platform, this will be notified to all of you in due time. And the test is conducted by Code Club JUSL. So this was all about the screening test. And moving on to the next slide, our speakers, as you can see, these are all our seniors who have cracked top technical firms on campus as well as off campus. You can see SD at BNY Mellon, SD Internet Swaggy, Mitex and BTSA at ZS, SD8 at Oracle, Grey Orange and Gupshup. These are some of the companies they have cracked, and these are all people from the core department. So it will help you all to know what are the tips and tricks for cracking technical firms on as well as off campus from core department. Moving on to the next slide. How to manage SEM with coding? This is one of the most commonly asked questions from people from the core department as the load of studies is more in core department as compared to the technical ones. So to manage semester studies, CGPA and all with coding, as well as cracking top tech firms, is one of the most asked questions, which will be answered by our seniors who are present here. And moving on to the next slide. And so here's Purvendula, who is from civil department. He has cracked many offers and we will know from him the tips and tricks for cracking technical firms both on as well as off campus while managing CGPA and semester studies. So I will like to have Purvendu Bhaiya tell the tips and tricks to everyone and welcome him to share his experience.
Hello.
I think
Hello, yes, we have Purvendu Hallar from Civil Engineer who has cracked internships from Reserve and LinkedIn and also from Swiggy. And he has also secured full-time offers from Grey Orange and TCS Digital after securing a global rank of 63 in TCS Code Vita. So as we have taken a glimpse into his achievements, now let us hear from him. What was your overall coding journey and how you started it in your first year and you excelled it in your third and fourth year?
yeah, so since I had CS in my 11th and 12th, so I had the basic knowledge of it since my school days. So I just brushed up those things and learned the advanced stuffs like that DP and graph things. So that's why I started from first year, and eventually I took help from YouTube and learned those things. Regarding managing studies, it was like we usually don't study for the whole sem, right? You will be studying for a week or so before the exam starts. So just do that thing. And one of the most important thing in coding is the consistency. So be consistent throughout, and the a week before the sem or the class tests, just lower the intensity of your coding practice. That will help in managing your sems as well. Like if I say about my academic background, I have not received a single supply yet, and I have a CGP of 8 plus, average CGP of 8 plus till date. So it's just that you need to prioritize things. So before a sem, just a week before that, just lower the intensity. You might not appear for each and every contest that is happening during that time. and you can just solve one or two questions maybe, uh, or maybe just read some articles before that. So in that way, you can focus on your SEMs as well. Uh, and yeah, same, and CGPA will be a factor during shortlisting, during eligibility of companies as well. So you have to focus on a CGPA as well. It's not that you are having an excellent coding profile, but if you have a lower CGPA, you won't be allowed to sit for the company. So these things are important.
Vaya, can you put some light on your interview and way experiences?
Okay. So the slide that you can see in the screen is for gray orange, specifically for gray orange. So it had 20 MCQ questions. They were output based or debugging thing. Uh, Mostly it was easy to medium level, not very tough, and two DSA questions. And the DSA questions were very basic, like it involved some frequency counting thing. I don't remember exactly, but it was related to some use of map, and you have to find the frequency. That was it regarding the OA. And in the technical round, there were two technical rounds. In the first round, it was mostly conversational, like why are you wishing to switch from a code role to a software role? These things are usually asked. Some basic SQL questions, and in the DSA question, they again asked of variation of frequency thing only. So basically, the question that was asked in the OA, almost a similar kind of question was asked in technical round one, and technical round two was also similar to that. The SQL questions was a bit tough, not tough actually, but it involved some joins and so. And the first round, the SQL was similar to like using a where clause only. So the second round had some joins, and that's it. So that was it. Gray orange had a like pretty easy for me, but in some cases they asked tough questions actually, so that varied widely. Regarding other experience, if you would like to hear, so I would like to share the experience for Swiggy. So Swiggy was an off-campus offer. During the OA, it had four questions. One was easy, greedy types. Second was math oriented something. So third was 01 knapsack DP, and fourth one was some graph related thing. So you can just Google the questions. You would get the exact question. If you search with this thing that Swiggy SD entered OA questions, you would get a lead code article where the questions are already listed there. So after that, in the first technical round, one of the questions was print numbers from 1 to n in their lexicographical order. So it's not like you need to print 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like you need to print 100, 1000, 1, 10, 100 this way. So that was one of the questions, and they asked me about my experience at Razorpay. That was from the first round. The second round was taken by an SD3. He grinded me mostly on the internship part, what projects I did, what can be the edge cases where the project can fail. So this thing, so it roughly took 40 minutes for only for Razorpay. After that, again a DSA question, bipartite graph matching. I was asked not to code, but just to explain the approach. Uh, and some behavioral question. That was it for the Swiggy thing, and eventually it was cleared. For TCS, if I would say, it's again, I got the opportunity from Code Vita. So Code Vita is a contest, a global contest similar to Google Kickstart. So if you clear, if you get a rank, like if you solve one question, you will get a rank, and based on the rank, some cutoff are decided by TCS, and accordingly you will be called for interviews. So the interview was an offline one in TCS Gitanjali Park. Uh, it had one round only. It mostly involved no DSA question. It one of the question was like write a class, and another one was like write a router for some project. That was it, and some HR questions, some basic things. So that was pretty much it from the experience point of view. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhaiya, for your time and your wonderful insights. Uh, would you kindly give some tips on how the first years and the second years and the third years for the different years?
So focus on DSA. Yeah, obviously, DSA is the bread and butter of software engineers. You cannot appear for interviews if you don't clear the OA. And in the OA or online test, DSA is the primary thing that is asked. You might be asked some MCQs, but DSA will be the primary focus. So for DSA, you have platforms like LeetCode and CodeChef, CodeForces. These are pretty much like popular platforms. And for studying, for learning these things, especially for first and second years if they are here, so you can follow Pratik Naranka Udemy course. It's a paid course, but it's actually recommended by many. Or Abdul Bari, again a legend. So yeah. Also, if you think that you want to try something new, you can just go for Love Babbar or Apna College. They also have pretty good enough content. I won't suggest much on them. I would rather suggest that if you are learning from scratch, start. You can start with Love Babbar or Apna College, get the basics clear, learn the language, and then switch to topics like if you are studying Stack or Queue, go to Aditya Verma. If you are learning Graph or DP, go to Striver. So accordingly, you can learn DSA from this and practice on LeetCode, and that will be it from DSA point of view. CS, regarding CS fundamentals, uh, mostly people recommend interview bit, top interview questions. You if you go just search on Google that say operating system in top interview questions, interview bit, you will get an article, a PDF file can be downloaded from there, and questions are usually asked from that only. You won't get a question that is not there. Mostly that is covered from there. Regarding DBMS, for DBMS theory portion, again interview bit. SQL queries you can practice on either HackerRank or LeetCode. For learning SQL queries, there is a one-shot video in Love Babbar. So he has taught for 4 hours, I guess. It was for SQL queries only. So I think it covers pretty much everything regarding SQL queries. But yeah, again, you need to practice, and there might be some complex queries. So for those, you have to practice this thing. Uh, Again, HackerRank and LeetCode are there. Regarding OOPS, top interview questions will be covered from interview bit, and mostly that is only asked. And eventually, you will know how to write a class. These things, class, inheritance, polymorphism. These things are basics, and this can be these are present on the interview bit thing that I have told previously.
Thank you, Bhaiya. I request to stay for the final Q&A session.
Yeah, sure.
Thank-
All right. So next, the next speaker that we have is Swapnil Shah. Swapnil is a power engineering department student for fourth year and has secured an offer in ZS Technologies of the role of BTSA, Business Technology Solutions Associate. So, Swapnil, first off, let's get started. I would ask you to shed some light on your overall coding experience till your preparation in for placement, and like starting off from first year until preparation placements. And apart from that, how did you manage your departmental studies with coding and preparation?
Okay, audible, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, see, like for coding, I first started to learn concepts and the algorithms basically from Geek for Geeks and the free content that is available on YouTube channels. So, then I started solving the problems there. To learn about the algorithms, I preferred a book also, Cracking the Coding Interview. You will get the PDF of the book in online mode also, where I learned the data structures, the different algorithms, and like concepts like basic searching, sorting, DFS, BFS, graph algorithms, backtracking algorithms, optimization, and DP with memorization. Like it is quite well explained in that book with the visualization also of how the algorithms and the concepts actually work. So you can refer to that book also. And after you have learned all the algorithms and the concepts, you can jump into solving questions on lead code, starting from easy and medium to going into hard questions. So when you grab the concepts of easy and medium, you can jump into hard, and you can go into a little bit of handiwork in competitive programming also in CodeChef and CodeForces and other platforms. So like I would prefer LeetCode as the best platform for practice, since it's very much organized with all the roadmaps and the preparation process. And what you can do is try to give more and more weekly contests, bi-weekly contests on various platforms like HackerRank, CodeChef, and LeetCode also, to like know where you are standing out in with the other people also. Okay, so you can participate in more and more contests to keep up with the practice of DSA and the CP. And what's more important is like you have to try to maintain the consistency in solving questions every day, so that practice just keeps up with you. Okay, so the more and more you practice, the more and more questions you solve, you will get your concepts and base will get more clear. So like I'll give you an example. Like it might be an absurd logic, but everyone has given WBJ and JEE means you have learned about organic chemistry, right? So like in organic chemistry, there are named reactions with a particular mechanism. So in JEE and other exams, there are reactions which are you need to complete. So you know the mechanism of the particular reaction, and you have to apply that mechanism to solve a like another equation, but it is related to that. In similarly in coding, you need to know the algorithm and the concepts of, there are particularly some named problems in DSA and CP. Okay, so you need to understand the concept of like sub-array problems and different kind of two-pointer problems. You need to understand that concept, and you need to apply it into newer problems. Like the questions will be same in the interviews mostly, but you need to understand that concept. That concept is the most important. So you need to practice. The more and more you practice, will get more in touch with that. So for coding, just need to do with that. Okay.
Uh, and Dada, how did you manage your core studies, departmental studies with your coding preparation?
Okay, so like it's same as like Purvendu. Like for coding, you need to have to be consistent, more and more consistent, right? Like when the semesters are not closed, like for 2 3 months, you need to solve like at least 15 to 20 problems every day on any platform or different platforms also, so that you just keep up with the practice for yourself. And just before the semester, 1 or 2 weeks, you need to like bunch up the core subjects. You need to learn those core subjects, whatever notes and everything your departmental professors has given to you, your seniors has given to you. You have to like practice the P1Q questions, because a lot of common questions come from that also. So those are very important for the core subjects, and you need to understand the patterns of the core subjects also. What type of questions are coming every year, so that you just give more. You just don't give all the time to the core subject, but you can spend more time on coding and practicing other technological things and improving your skill sets also. Like if you are going for full stack development, or if you are going to make projects on machine learning, deep learning, for that you need to invest time in that also. So for the core, you need to the time management is more important there. That when you are studying which subject actually. So before the semester, I would prefer to go with the core subject, so that like as Purvendra says, CGPA is much important, because a lot of companies will have the CGPA resume shortlisting actually, where they consider your internship, and CGPA is much important there, because they shortlist like the one of the first criteria for shortlisting through resume is CGPA only. Okay, because they ask CGPA in the forms, in the CVs, and everything. So they even ask that in the interviews also. So maintaining a good CGPA is also important, even if you are from a code department also.
All right. So the next up, Dada, please shed some light on your experience, like the OA and the interview round at ZS.
Okay, so ZS for the BTSA Business Technology Solutions Associate, it had a total of 4 rounds. The first round was basically, it consisted of 5 to 6 sections. It had aptitude, quant based questions, and logical reasoning, and there were 2 paragraph based guesstimate questions. Like a lot of data was given. I don't remember the exact question. If I get it, I'll share it with you guys. So there was a lot of data given, and you need to conclude a particular answer for that. Okay. So it was a guesstimate question, two questions for guesstimate, and the other sections it was like 12 to 15 minutes per section. It had like basically CAT and aptitude types of questions. Okay, logical reasoning, LRDR, quants, and aptitude. Okay, and
this was the first round. The second round after this round shortlisting, the second one was a verbal communication round where you need to write certain paragraphs. You need to listen to some English sentences and repeat those, write the meaning of those sentences, and you need to verbally like tell a particular. They will give you a topic. You need to verbally record the topic, your brief on that topic, and you need to record and give it to the AI. So the second round was a verbal communication round. The third round was consisted of some MCQ questions on DBMS, OS, and SQL questions, and it had two DSA questions. It was not that tough. I was preferred like Maximus. It was a lead code medium. The two questions. One, the questions that was asked for me in the OA. One question was from dynamic programming, and the other was from a sub-adapt problem. And two DSA questions and two SQL questions with it. Two SQL questions. One was like a right join with two tables, and the other SQL question was a pretty basic SQL question. So there were three for the OA. It had all these three rounds, and for the interview, the ZS had a diversity and variety of interviews actually, because some people the interviewer were grinding mostly towards DBMS, SQL, and OOPS subjects. Okay, and they asked some points about Power BI, and if you have those in your projects. Okay, like ZS. Particularly what I have learned from my seniors, asked from my seniors and their interview experience, they said that rather from the departments, it mostly focuses on the skill set. Okay. Like it doesn't give preference much to the whether you are from a CS or IT or you are from a code department. It prefers mostly on the skill set of that particular person. So the main thing you should have is a good English speaking and a verbal communication skill. I told them about my projects, my profile, my Mytex internship, the project I did on computer diagnosis on medical imaging. So my luck was good because my interviewer was from a completely machine learning and AI background. So he grinded me 30 minutes for around some questions and theoretical questions from machine learning and deep learning. Then I told him about my projects. He asked me some counter questions on that. After that, he went into like some data structures questions. He asked me the famous dictionary question you will get on LeetCode, the dictionary question. So and some questions on like time and space complexity questions on searching, sorting algorithms, and some and a backtracking question. Okay, it was most probably the island problem. Yeah, it was the island problem. Sorry, and it went for around 15 to 20 minutes. This type of questions, and then he asked me a question about relative velocity, and what's important for consulting companies and banking companies is you should know a lot of puzzles and the guesstimates. Like you should know the approach and the ideas that are used especially in guesstimate type questions. Like he asked me a particular question that how many t-shirts are sold in India in a year. So if you search this question, you will get this answer on some platforms like GFG and all. And after that, he asked me the two famous puzzle problems you might know. One was, I guess, it was the minimum cut pizza problem, and the other I don't remember. And after that, he asked me some business related problems, like what would be the relation between the manager and the employee. They asked some these type of questions, and he asked me a question on business like if you are developing a product for your company and there is some malfunction in the product and you are like exporting or selling it to some other company, then your company's reputation is at stake. So how will you deal with that situation? Okay, like this is some mind joining questions. Okay, so they will ask, like consultancy and banking companies ask this type of question because they need to know like how do you deal with your situations, how do you deal teamwork, how do you deal in various kinds of situations apart from like your skill set and technology, like how do you work with people. And after that he asked me a few questions about ZS, what I know about ZS, why do I want to join this role, or why did I apply for this role. I told him about some technologies that are working in ZS. I asked him about the work culture, about what is ZS is working upon right now, what type of projects will I be given if I join this company. So overall, the interview was for around 1 hour 20 minutes. And since I was from a machine learning background, some other people who were from like database, who were in full stack developments, who were more in like DBMS or SQL, Power BI, MS Excel. The ZS asks questions from there also, because you will get questions from that field also. But what I would say is like if you are learning machine learning and deep learning, you will get preference in companies like mostly the few consulting companies, software companies, and banking companies. Like if you know IDFC and ICICI had a lot of questions in the OA also from machine learning and deep learning. IDFC also asks a lot of questions. If you know, from they ask questions from, they give a problem statement and they ask you to solve that problem using your data science knowledge. So, and one thing I would say, if you are preparing for your, like if you are making your CV and if you are giving a project, there should be three things. Like you are assigned a problem statement or you are taken a problem statement, you should mention the problem whatever is given to you. And the second point should be, how did you, what type of skill set that is matching with your profile, that you have the skill set that you have learned, and how was your approach to solve that particular problem. And the third point should be, what results have you achieved from solving that particular problem using your skill set. This was my experience actually.
All right. And so one thing that we could understand from whatever you said, Dada, that whatever the skill set is mentioned in the CV, they'll be grinded upon that. There is no like preference or something given to the different type of skill sets. So one thing that I would want you to just explain in like 2 to 5 minutes, like what kind of projects, like you were from MLDL background. So what kind of projects did you have, or would you say that the students should have in their CV to have an upper hand?
Okay, see, see, you can't give any type of projects in any company. The main thing you should focus, each and every company has a particular role. That role has a job description. The job description is given to you. You need to like fit in with the requirements and whatever that is written in the job description, the skill set, the requirements. You need to like develop a CV with that. Like if you say Gupshup comes for backend development or the developers, you won't get a lot of priority if you are going for a data science, like data from a data science background. Okay, like you need to know about the company, the job description, and you need to understand what kind of skill set the company requires, right? So I had like I knew like ZS was working on these and this kind of technologies. So the projects I had, like one from my Mitex internship, I had a like image segmentation project on using ultrasonic images. I had some deep learning projects, and I had a full stack development project and some problem solving and analytical skills. Sorry, one problem solving game using Python also. So these were the kind of projects that I had on my CV, and the interviewer asked me.
All right. And what would be some tips or advice that you would give us or the students, the junior batches for ZS particularly and for other placement preparation as well?
See, ZS, I am specifically from the BTSA, but if you want to know about DA, we had a case study competition. So if you go into internet and Google, you will get a lot of case study competitions, a lot of case study PPTs and a lot. So you should go through that if you are like aiming for the DA, the decision associate analyst. Sorry, decision associate analyst role. So for that, you should know knowledge about case studies and how do you deal with problems regarding that if you are given a case study problem statement. Okay. For the PTSA, as I said, the skill set matters the most. And you should know like TSA is important. You should solve problems on lead code. You should have good aptitude and on problem solving and analytical skills basically to clear the online assessments. You should know SQL because SQL will be asked in the OA and DSA will be asked in the OA, and you should have concepts about DBMS. And for the interview, like for the preparation, I would say like you should if you go to interview bit or if you go to GFG, you will get a lot of top asked interview questions based on OOPS, based on DBMS, based on SQL. So you should go through that problems because they might be repeated problems there. Okay, so you should go through that questions just 1 or 2 days before the interview. So those are very important for that.
All right. So I think that will be it for now. If any questions arise, then please do state by the end. We'll
Sure.
relay the questions.
Okay. Sure.
So hello everyone. This is Shubhankar. I'd like to introduce my immediate senior Gitanda, who got an offer from BNY Mellon for SD role. So the first question is for who are aiming for SD role. Dada, if you can give us some tips how to prepare for that role.
So I hope I'm audible. Hello.
Yeah. You are audible.
Please ask the question again. I couldn't hear.
Dada, you got an offer for the software development role from the BNY Mellon. So the first question is who are aiming for that role, specifically for software development role. If you can give us some tips how to prepare for that specific role, software development role.
So for software development role, you have to just prepare from at least from the third year first sem to get a chance to land in a good company. So if you have 1 or 1.5 years, second year first sem, I forgot. So from second year first sem, you can start. At first, you have to learn the basic DSA and the basic languages. If you are already acquainted with the C++ or Java or Python, any language, you can start the DSA portion. So for the DSA portion, I started from the Abdul Padi course, as Purvendu mentioned earlier. So it is a very good course for also for learning C++ also and for learning DSA also. There are two courses you can search. Both are paid, and you can also find that in some other ways also, I think. And after that, as you progress, you get the array, string, etc. You then start solving problems from HackerRank or GFG topic wise. And when you are almost prepared with the basic concepts like the string, array, or recursion, backtracking, these are the basic concepts, you can start giving the contest easily, and you can give the contest regularly. And if you cannot do a problem, please go back and see what the others have done in the discuss section or in the solution. In this way, you can improve your coding skills. And it is all about the practice. As you practice more, you will be better and better in the DSA. And DSA is one of the most important when you are coming from a core department, because in the CS or IT, they also learn all the theoretical concepts. So the interviewer definitely knows that, as that is in their curriculum, they should also know that. But in the core departments, they usually mostly focus on the DSA part. So when the placement seasons comes, about 5 or 6 months before that, you can start doing the theoretical parts like the OS, DBMS. And if you go and watch the YouTube videos, and there are some courses, as already mentioned earlier, the courses are same, and then you can be in a good form when the placement season comes.
Okay, so the next question arises like being a student of chemical engineering, which is itself a core department. So how did you manage your coding journey with the semester studies? And also how to manage a decent CGPA, which is required for these roles as well.
So to manage the studies, I had the CS in the 11th and 12th, so I had the pretty much idea that what I'm dealing with. So at first, in the first and the second year, I didn't show light on the coding side, as I was preparing for the code only. I didn't, but when I started to learn the core subjects, I started to just, I think, I couldn't get in love with the subjects of the core. So I started to see the other options. So I had some acquaintance with the coding earlier. So I started to learn the C++ and other C++ language and DSA. And I fell in love with that. And then I pursued this line. So I was actually a late starter. So for the first year and second year, I would totally suggest that you can start your coding journey from the first, second year itself. when the pressure is low. In the second and third year, the pressure of the core subject is much more than the first year. So you get a basic foundation, and then you can just practice and give contests, and you will be just getting good automatically. And to maintain the the CGPA,
CGPA.
so I would suggest that, see, almost every department, every uh, teacher gives some suggestions, and also the previous year questions are there. So if you just start maximum 1 month earlier, not needed 1 month, 2 or 3 weeks is enough also. Then you can basically learn everything, and the important questions if you learn, and the important concepts, then I think you will be easily getting above 8 pointer in every semester, or maybe less 7.5. You don't need to aim for the 9 pointer, which is not needed. Above 8 is moderately good enough for all the DSA type of roles. So I think in this way you can easily balance the core studies and the coding studies.
Okay, Dada. So the next question is, if you can share about the interview experience of BNY Mellon, and BNY Mellon interview experience of BNY Mellon. Yes, that's the question.
So the BNI learn at first had as a OA. So the OA had 4 DSA questions. Now MC code nothing, like a normal lead code GFG contest. So there are 4 questions and 90 minutes time. The first one was very easy. I think it was like some dictionary string type of question. I did not remember. I don't remember actually. And there were 2 medium questions. So the medium questions, one was of backtracking, and one was of one knapsack problem, and one was a hard DP problem. I mean, it was not a basic DP. You had to think way around that. So it would be late code hard for sure, but it was not any common question you will easily find all the 4 questions. So now, so and I think the all the questions what were coming was from a bank. So I mean, all the participants were giving the questions didn't receive the same questions, but there are 10 questions of hard. Anybody can get anyone like that.
Okay.
So
Okay, and the about the interview rounds, you can tell anything. It was
so
about the DSA round, right?
yes, it was about the way round, and
Hmm.
next that there was interview round. So the interview round had 3 rounds. So there was technical round 1, technical round 2, and on bar Acer round or Acer round, whatever you call it. Their term was bar Acer round. So in the first technical round, there was I think the interviewer was the vice president, and it lasted about 30 minutes. The first question was the basic introduce yourself, which I think everybody has prepared something for that. And now the next was what was the languages I was coding in, and I said C++ and Python. So they asked the difference and similarities between C++ and Python, and then there was a simple question that explain and implement merge sort. So it is a very basic question, and then there was a very easy question of find the factors of a number using recursions, and the last question was display Fibonacci series. I mean, the first round was very easy. It was not any problem if you have. I mean, you can clear this round in third year also. And in the second technical round, it was a bit lengthy one. It was about I think 1.5 hours, and it was a senior VP who was taking the interview. So the first question he was asking was about the previous interview, what was asked in the previous interview, and how did I answer that. And next there was a theory question from DPMS, like SQL versus NoSQL, how data is stored in NoSQL, etc. And then there was some SQL queries which was asked. So SQL queries, I mean, it was not asked directly. It was first he gave a table and a basic SQL question. Then when I answered that, he increased the difficulty and added another row and changed the question. In this way, as I gave the answers, he changed the question, and ultimately there was 3-4 tables and join, find, etc. And ultimately, at the last, when I couldn't answer a question, he stopped and moved on to the further interview. And actually, he was from the a full stack developer role. So my projects was on AIML. So I think he would have preferred projects on full stack development. So actually, he tried to grind me on the full stack part, but as my resume was not reflecting that, so he didn't grind me that much. But he asked some front end back end question like difference between authentication and authorization, what is authentication, what is authorization, etc. And then he gave a scenario that I have a database of about 5 million rows in the backend, which is fetching data and displaying in front end. So how can I reduce the latency of fetching the data and showing in the front end? And then how can I optimize the searching in the database, etc. Then when I answered that, I mean, I didn't know that for sure, but when you learn about OS and DBFS, you get some situations where you can apply that knowledge into the answers. So I answered it intuitively, and then he says that how can I search for all the names that starts with G. In this way, he just complicated the questions little by little, and then he stopped. And then he asked about my projects. So my projects were on AIML, one was on CNN, and another was on uh, a image processing project. So he grinded me some time on the CNN project. So he asked that why I did this project, why I choose AIML as to do the project, and then he asked what are the softwares I used during the project, how I am displaying it in the, I mean, I am hosting it how. So I hosted in Streamlit, and then I described what is Streamlit. He didn't know what is Streamlit, so he thought that the Streamlit part was a front end, back end, means web type of thing. So he tried to ask from that. So I told him that it was just a Python library, so it was not that much hard to do without learning the front end, back end, or full stack development. So after grinding sometime from the project part, he again came back to the DSA portion. So he asked me another simple question that I have been given an array of numbers. The numbers are positive numbers or zero. So I have to shift all the zeros to the left and the positive numbers to the right, keeping their order same. So I just gave him brute force approach, and then went on to get to give a optimized approach. At first, you have to always explain them that what you are going to do and how it is solving the problem, and then you can code. Okay, they will also ask the same. So both systematically, and then he asked something like what is hash map and how it is implemented. I think it is a common question in Java, but C++ I didn't learn that much that how it is implemented. And he was a Java person. He knew the programming in Java, so he didn't know that much in C++. So he tried to get the answer in Java, but as I didn't mention Java, I went on to go in C++, and I gave him a concept that what is hash map, and it's basic that we can give a hash map like every key has every value has a unique pair. So when you search the key, you get the value in this way. And then he gave some hints that how I should proceed to make a hash map, and I grabbed those hints and made a small program like hashmap, not exactly hashmap, but like hashmap, which will do the work. So I think he was pleased with the answer, and Then we went on to some OS questions like what is the difference between multi-threading and multi-processing, basic questions, and what is deadlock, etc. And then he asked some HR questions, basic like where do you see yourself in 5 years, and asked that if I had any questions for him. And you can find what the questions to ask to the interviewer in online or YouTube. Some good questions. So this was the second round. So after the second round, there was a third round, which was the HR round or the biodiesel round. So in the third round, there was a at first he asked me to introduce myself, and then he also asked that what was the questions asked in the previous two interviews and how did I answer them, even if I could answer all or etc. And then he went to at first he gave me a DSA questions only, so it was not purely HR, it was also some technical. I think most of it was technical, some HR. Okay, so the first question was fairly easy. So you have been given a document and you have to find the longest palindromic string in the document. So I just at first told my approach and then went ahead and coded it. And all the coding was done in pen and paper. Okay, there was no ID given. So you have to be very much careful about the syntax or etc. But I think they didn't actually notice all the syntax, but they actually wanted to know how the code is running. Okay. So then after this question, there was a question he asked about low-level system design. It was new for me. I didn't know exactly. I mean, I didn't practice low-level system design, but as I had a fair idea of what it is, and I had the grasp of hoops and C++, so I was able to answer it. The question was that design a lift system in an apartment with 42 floors, and each floor has two switches for going up and down, and and elevator has four switches for each floor, and there is a screen at each floor which shows the elevator is coming to pick a passenger, and a lift can carry multiple passengers. So this was the question. So I had to at first he gave me some time to think about the problem, and then I started giving him the approach that how I will design the system, means what are the variables to consider and how each classes will work. When I went and told that this class will work in this way, then after he was pleased, he told me to code each class. I mean how each class will work. So I wrote the code, and I think he was fairly satisfied with the code. And he then went on to go through DBMS. So in DBMS, he asked what is normalization and uh, how many types of normalization are out there, and asked what is one NF, BCNF, etc. And then he went on to OS. So in OS, he asked what is thread and process. So how you and he also asked that if I was familiar with the Linux operating system, the command line, etc. So I said no, I was not that much familiar. But he also then asked that how do you see an end process in Windows, because I told that I do all the things in Windows. And then how do you know how do you know commands to okay, he asked that do you know the commands to C and N processes in Linux. I told that I knew that, and then he tried to ask that how the processes communicate in the backend. Okay, so I gave the answer, and then I think the technical part was over, and there was an HR questions like uh, I had done chemical engineering, but why did I choose to go to SD job? These are some basic questions for all the core people who are going to give an interview. This is the question I think every interview you will face in one or other. You will face, so you have to give a competent answer, and you have a answer ready for this. And then a basic question that why do you want to join BNY? It is also a very standard question for any interview. And then he asked that if I wanted to ask him something. So it was also common. And I asked him that what was his role in the company, and he just grabbed a paper and described everything. It was very good to hear that what was his role. So he was the director of BNY, and the interview lasted of around 1 hour. So these are all the interview experiences what happened in BNY.
Thank you, Dada, for your time. And last thing, would you please give some tips for all the juniors?
So the tips are as shown in the screen. So always be confident with your answer. Whatever you answer, if you are confident, then I think if you are slightly marginally off also, then it will be considered a good answer. Okay. And for the DSA question, as I always told, that you have to explain the approach clearly and be sure that the approach is understood by the interviewer, and then go and write the program. And yes, always when you're writing program, after each line you explain that what the line does, okay, and what the variable does, what the line does. So all the time throughout the interview you will not be silent, you have to be interactive every time, okay. And of course, if you have a question that you don't know actually, then you can directly say that I don't know and I will look into it. And you can and if you know the answer little bit, means partially, then you can say that I don't exactly know the question, but I can try to answer it, and you can give the answer what you know. And I think when the most of the cases the interviewer will guide you to the answer, okay, so he will give some hints, you have to catch those hints and give the answers, okay. And in the resume, whatever you mention, you have to be confident with everything. The resume is the thing the interviewer sees, and all the questions the interviewer will ask are mostly from the resume. If something is required for the role but not mentioned in the resume, in that case only he will ask elsewhere. And if you don't know anything or not confident with anything, don't mention in the resume, okay. And be prepared on any type of question on your project. Be like why you did this project, like why you use certain technology in the project, what are the alternatives to that you can use in the project. In this way you have to be well versed with everything in the project. And I think some of you will do the project and some of you will get the project from elsewhere, but then also you will have to be you will have to know everything about the project. If you just copy a project from anybody, which I don't recommend, but if you get the project, you have to go through the project, each and every line, and know the function of every line, okay. Mostly the interviewer will not ask you line by line, he will ask like that how the project is running in this way, but you get the point that you have to be prepared for any type of question on your project. So these are the tips from my side.
So we have a question in the chat. Should we do CP questions or GFGLC will do?
I think for the BNY, the OA part, the CP questions are necessary, okay. You will not get any redundant or previously asked questions. The similar concept will be there, but for the OA only you have to be good at CP. But for the interview part, GFG medium to lead code level medium questions are only asked, not very hard question. I think somebody was asked the tapping rain order problem or some standard problems that you will find in every, I think, DSS sheet or everywhere. But for the OA part, you have to be good at CP, I think, because without that, you won't be able to come up with the approaches to solve, particularly the fourth question. Up to third question, it is fairly, medium level, but the fourth question is a little bit tough for most of the people.
Okay, thank you, Dada. Thank you for your time and the insights. That is from the side.
So now we will introduce Nishansha Bhaiya, who is from printing engineering department. So in spite of being a non-CSIT background, still he is able to crack SDT role in Gray Orange. So Bhaiya, can you elaborate like what you have did in your first to fourth year. So some people have done DSA, some people have done machine learning, some have done development project. So what was your basically focus in those 4 years from first year to fourth year? So what you have done basically?
So first and second year were mostly online classes, and we really don't had any idea what to do. From my actual preparation began from second year, second semester. I started with C++ and DSA. I followed some playlists on YouTube like Lubber and all, and there was Sandeep Jain's videos available, the GFG ones. So from that I started, and then I practiced few standard questions, and then I switched to CP and lead code problems. I focused more on doing giving contests, and that was mostly the coding part.
So basically, you have done the DSA parts mainly. So
Yeah.
now you can tell how did you manage the coding with code, because it is hard to manage both, and like SGPA matters a lot when it comes to placement. So how did you manage both?
Yeah, so as everyone said that CGPA matters, and I would also say the same, that anyhow maintain 8 plus CGPA. And talking about my managing code, for me it wasn't that much difficult, because in my department that pressure wasn't really the maximum pressure was of the labs, and some of our teachers used to complete the labs on the same day. So that wasn't so much a barrier for me. And for the semester exams, most of the questions in the semester exams were previous year questions, so that you can manage to complete within a week or so. And like Purbendu said, consistency is key for coding. So even if you lower down your amount of practice during those semester period, then it won't affect your preparations much. But it is important that you give your semesters and get a good CGPA, maintain a good CGPA.
Okay, Bhaiya. So for you and your department, so it was relatively easy as compared to others when it comes to coding, doing code. So Bhaiya, can you elaborate your OA experience? What kind of questions was really asked in your OA?
So, well, before OA, we all had to go through screening test. So for screening test, I would suggest that one must do CP, and because if you are doing CP, as I have seen the last 3 years pattern, the screening test comprises of 4 to 5 problems. The first is easy, medium, and hard, and it is mostly on HackerEarth and HackerRank. So you have to write the entire code, not just a function. So if you are well practiced and habituated with CP, it would definitely help you uh, in giving contests, and that would be an offline contest, so that will really help. And also doing lead code would be very much sufficient, because again, as the screening trends I have seen, one question, one problem is definitely directly from lead code, or if not directly, then a similar version would be present on lead code. And even if you are not comfortable with code forces in the beginning, you can start giving AdCoder ABC contest. And why I feel so, I feel that AdCoder is really underrated till now, but the beginner contests are very much very because they have the topics which are conceptual topics mostly, and till the fifth problem it would be really helpful in building the logics conceptual portions. And the talking about the interview experiences, uh, the OA was like 50 MCQ questions, and since it was for a STET role, there was a question which was based on a web page, and it was asked to give some test cases to test that web page. So it was basically a booking.com kind of website page, and I was asked to give some inputs and test cases to see the functionality of that. So like I gave really logical answers, not any coding related answers or something. I just gave some test cases like the start date and the end date of a trip should be different, and like these things, the end date should not be before the start dates. So that was the online round, and in the online round, 50 Java MCQs were there, which you can easily Google it out. The first round, it was conducted by, the interview was a software verification engineer, a little bit senior, like SDT2 something, and started off with SQL questions like the second highest salary and the minimum maximum salaries. Then he switched to some questions like why you're from printing department, why you want to join in software domain. So this is really a question which would definitely come to you, and you have to be prepared with an answer for it. And for my answer, because in my entire course there was 4 CS subjects, like microprocessor, computer networks, DBMS, and in the final year it was third year or final year, ML was there. So I used that for that answer, that since there are a lot of CS subjects in my coursework, so that's why. And but you have to be prepared of this question. It will definitely come to you being a core student. And then he asked me a question which was based on testing. He asked me a logical question. He asked me that you are designing a lift, then what are some of the test cases you will choose to test the lift properly? So that is not something very technical you have to give, but you have to be very logically correct at that moment, like in your lift. So you have to check for the safety hazards and all. So that could be a good answer. Then power outages. So this was like on spot, instinctively you'll have to find the answer. And then he gave me a DSA problem which was palindrome, and ended with a little bit of project discussion. The second round was by a really senior software verification engineer, and in that round he directly started off with testing questions like what is integration testing, system testing, black box testing. So these were the questions which I prepared a day earlier on from Kate Smasher's software engineering playlists. So you'll have to be flexible with that, because in final year you won't get just software development engineering roles. You'll have different types of roles like Java developer, Python developer, tester, consultancy. So you have to be like you don't have to stick to that separate development roles. So that was the first questions, and out of which few questions I wasn't able to answer. Then he gave me a hard problem of DSA, but he was satisfied with the brute force approach, and he asked me to code it, and when the output smashed, he said, then let's move to the next question. And in this round also I got a logical questions, and this was that you are designing an electric car, which is a driverless car basically. So what are the test cases for these? Then these were also like instinctively you have to find out the answers, like if there is a driverless car, then at what angles should the steering wheels should be rotated, when should the brakes be applied, and these are things were to be tested. So that's that answer I gave for about 7 to 8 minutes. And after that, some one SQL question he asked me, but I don't remember. He very literally tricked me, and it was some kind of error. The answer would be error, but I ended up giving an output. So that was somewhere I thought it is a minus point going in my way. Then at the end of the interview, he asked me about the Linux, and I didn't really had much experience about Linux commands. So I just told him about the CD and one more, that you create new folders. That one I told him, but I told him that I don't know much about it. But I don't know why he insisted me and kept me asking question on Linux. And I felt that like this is going in my minus, like it's not going in my way. But then eventually some more questions he asked me, and then he ended the meet. And a few moments later, they declared the result. But when the results were out, there was one person who got selected, but his the CGPA was below 8, and they rejected him. So it's really important that to maintain CGPA above 8 is really important.
So, Bhaiya, you have told that they asked you test cases type of question. So, is that
Yes.
someone should prepare for it, or is that the situational thinking type question?
It is just situational based question. You just have to logically give an answer. You don't have to complicate it by giving test cases and different types of testings and all.
And they also ask you like design type questions. So
No, it wasn't design actually. It was just you are designing an elevator. What are the test cases you would do to check the lift is functioning properly or not? It was not something system design question at all.
Okay. And can you elaborate something like your project discussion? You have told that they have done your project discussion. So what questions?
Yeah, so project discussion is really important. Well, if you are looking, if you have time right now, then you should start focusing on a good project, because in like in Grey Orange, I got selected in December, and before that, the interview I gave was in somewhere around October. It was Mobile Wala, and I reached the final round, and it was I think the CTO was taking the interview, and it was to be about 30 minutes of interview, and entirely it was project discussion. But what I felt, my project wasn't up to the mark. It was a very basic kind of project. So the interviewer was not any more interested after 10 minutes or so. So he then moved to the OA question, this first round of question, second round question, I think. He asked me to explain me that. That really shows that he just wanted to kill the time anyhow. So that was a very good lesson learned that time. And after that 2 months, I completely devoted myself in doing the project. And since I was practicing CP in the earlier phases, I took CP. I took the idea of my project from CP, and I built something related to CP, and I used the Codeforces APIs and all to build that project. So, and also I integrated a lot of things in that complete full stack project I made. So now this by making this project, I got an edge that now I can really have, like, in a project you are judged, and what is the problem that this project is actually solving. So it was that was the idea behind it, to I'll have a lot of things to discuss regarding this project. So which happened in my Grey Orange last first round. The last 10 to 15 minutes, I explained my project well, and yeah, that should be, you should focus on projects very seriously. In fact, not just making the project, but also how well maintained your project is. Like, it should have a proper GitHub repository which is having a good number of commits. Then it should have some live link which you can give on your CV. So yeah, project is really important.
Okay. Now, can you share some tips?
Yeah, so tips, as I mentioned, do CP. If you are looking for screening, or if you're looking for online assessment, or if you're started to enjoy CP, then do CP. Lead code contests, don't just run behind solving a good number of problems. Even if you solve 3 to 4 questions on lead code contest, that would really help you. And if not live contest, there are a lot of contests already available. You can give them in virtual. But yeah, do CP in the contest environment only. Like, you can create mashup contests in Codeforces, you can give them. And at Coda also, they have around 300 contests on ABC contests. You can give them in virtual mode.
So thank you, Bhaiya, and wait till then, because there will be a Q&A session.
Okay.
Yeah, so next I would like to welcome Anirban Bhaiya, who is from electrical department, and he's an upcoming FD at Oracle, and he was rank 1 in previous year's screening test. So I would like to Bhaiya to share his experiences
About the screening test.
about the screening test and interview as well.
Yeah. First, about the screening test, if you want to access the screening test for the non-CS and IT students, I'm just mentioning that. if you want to access this screening test, you have to do some CP, because first question you can do by using by practicing from lead code, but the second, third, and fourth question you have to do CP to access these questions. And now comes first of all, I want to tell about the experience on the Wells Fargo, because there are many non-CS IT students, right? You have to do learn about your course subject, because in Wells Fargo as well as in Oracle, they have asked me about the course subjects. Means, as I am from electrical, they have asked me about electrical machines and the control system. But yes, but you should learn about the course subject, not at 10 out of 10, but you have to know the basics about each and everything. And now comes the Oracle experience, right? In Oracle experience, I want to tell that in the first round was taken by a SD2 or SD3, I think. He has experience of about 10 years or something like that. The first question they were asking was, as you all know, the Oracle was a database company, right? They were mainly focused on the DBMS and SQL person. The first question that they have asked me about was from the course subject. They have asked me to draw a circuit and explain some Kirchhoff's law. This was a very basic question from the electrical. Then they have jumped to a DSA question. They have asked a DSA question about the stack and the DP, I think. I cannot recall it right now, but it was a question related to stack and DP. And then they have jumped to the DBMS part. They have fully grilled me on the DBMS part. They have asked me SQL queries. Then they have asked me about the joins, triggers, PL SQL, and then ACID properties. I also think they have asked me also ACID properties also. So from here you can understand that you should, for companies like Oracle, you have to learn everything about the SQL and DBMS, right? And now comes the part of the projects. They have, in the first one, they have also asked me about the project. I have mentioned 3 projects in my resume. They have asked me to explain one of the project that I know very well. I have explained them the full stack project. Okay. Then they have asked me to try run some code, because in a project there in a login their full stack project, I have done a login page also. So they have asked me to they have asked me to say that how I've done the authentication and the authorization part, right? So I have tried run the full code. They were also very much satisfied with my code. So after the first round, I was very much sure that I will be selected for the second round, and the interviewer also given some intention that I will be selected for the second round. And now comes the second round. The second round was taken by the director, I think. He has the experience of about 20 years, I think. He has asked me, first of all, he has greeted me. He has asked me that the formality questions, right? Tell me about yourself. Then he has said that what he is doing in the Oracle company. Then he jumped to the SQL part of it. He has given me a query, and I have done the basic questions, something like highest second largest salary or something like that. I cannot recall it, but the question was something like that only. But this time Oracle has come to hire for the DevOps role, because in the PPT they have shown that they have come for the on-campus for the DevOps roles. So they were asking some questions about the cloud, because they also have access to the OCI, Oracle Cloud. They were asking about that. Have you done anything about OCI or AWS? So I have done some talks about from AWS in my previous internship, so I was able to answer. But it was not necessary that you should know about the cloud engineering. They have asked one question that if there is a traffic in your website, then how can you just maintain the website, that if the website doesn't go down, right? They were asking some type of question like that. It was also behavioral question also. They were asking that if there is a quarrel between your colleagues, that how will you just maintain the peace among your colleagues, or how will you just go through the project with something like that. This was the questions in the second round, and I was then a call again. There was a third round also. The third round was in, I think there was a principal. I can recall that he was a principal engineer or something like that. He was in the very top management in Oracle. He was mainly asking questions about the puzzles, then something like your core subjects, something about the then again SQL OS. He was asking some questions from that on. But one thing that I want to mention is I was not asked this type of questions, but some of my friends have been asked this question. They were asking questions from the computer networks also, computer network, Linux. I don't know that it was mentioned that I haven't mentioned in my resume this type of topics. That's why they haven't questioned me. But if you have mentioned in your resume that you have done computer networks or Linux, you should be prepared to answer this type of questions.
Right. And can you tell something about the resources for the computer fundamental subject which you use for preparation?
Yes. One thing that during my internship season, I have been rejected for, as you have seen the PPT, that I was rejected in the Google Reserve and Salesforce. So they have these rejections was because I was lagging behind, right? The things that I was lagging behind was CS fundamentals, SQL queries, SQLs, then puzzles. I was not prepared during my internship season. So for the DSA part, I would like to mention that you can do for lead code, code forces, and as mentioned by Nishan, that you can do also AdCoder also. And one thing that I forgot to mention, that for accessing for clearing the Oracle OA, you have to do one question. It was not a standard question; it was a REST API question, right? If you doesn't research about the company, if you doesn't research about Oracle, then you would not able to do the REST API question, because if you doesn't know about the axioms or something like that, how to access the REST API, you cannot do this type of question, right? So you have to research about each and every company before sitting for the work. And then so for DS, I have mentioned that for CS fundamentals, you can there are many free resources. You can take help from CodeHelp, which was done by Love Baba. There is a very descriptive videos. Then GFG. Then another is you can also learn from the Git Smashers also. And for puzzles, you all know that GFG is a good platform to learn puzzles. And for FT, I would like to mention that you can do with the help of IndiaBix. IndiaBix is a good platform to practice aptitude. And for communication skill, I would like to mention that make a group of two or three people who have same interests like you, right? So that if you want to do the mock interview practice, it will improve your communication skill, and it is great help for the interview.
Right. And communication is required, right? Like when you are explaining DSA questions to your interviewer. So
yes, it is. Yes, you have to explain the interview each and every line, because you have to make that communication interactive, right? Because the interviewer was not feel like that he is bored or something like that.
Right. And
There's
like some
a question
final
in the chat, like one guy is asking good source to learn networking.
Computer networking, I think you can learn from the Git Smashers also. It is a good platform to learn Git Smasher. And one platform is that if there is a crash course, I have never searched it. You can there's a one YouTube videos. I cannot recall it. If I get it, I will share it with you. But for initial, you can start with Git Smashers.
So some final tips and tricks for all the course students to get technical.
For the course students, I would like to tell that please give the screening test, because there is a rumor that for the mainly the circuital branches, that every company allows you to sit for the circuital branch, but it is not true for this year. Many companies have came that haven't allowed only allowed the CS and IT and the 50 screening students. So I would like to mention that other than the non-CS IT, everyone should sit for the screening test. And for the screening test, you can also see that which place are you among your friends, right? Because it will be a healthy competition, and you will also boost your competition as well before, because screening test always happen before starting of the placement season, and getting a good rank in it will just boost your confidence.
Right. So thank you, Vaya, for your valuable time and
Yeah.
guidance to all the juniors, and
Yeah,
looking
sure.
forward to many more sessions.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. So last of all, I will like to invite Shovik Bhaiya, who is from mechanical department, and he has got an offer from Gupshup, and I would like to shed some light on his insights, on his preparation, and how did he manage semester along with coding.
Sure. So, as in mechanical, as Purvandu said, so that's the strategy I followed as well. Like 1 or 2 weeks before the semesters, we generally start studying for the semester, and rest of the semester you can put more efforts into coding. And in the week or so before the class tests and semesters, you can reduce the intensity, but keep the consistency intact. Otherwise, like it happens, if you are out of touch with DSA for let's say a month, then there are many concepts which needs to be revisited. Otherwise, you are not able to recall them. So keep the consistency, but you can reduce the intensity during semesters and class tests as well. So that was the study. That was the strategy, maintaining core studies along with coding.
So can you tell something more about your overall interview experience and how did you prepare and the resources you used?
Sure. So in Gupshup's online assessment was not a very traditional DSA round kind of thing. So there was one big problem, kind of a long implementation problem. So they gave 2 hours initially, but very few could solve the entire. There were 4 test cases, and very few could solve all the 4 test cases within 2 hours time frame. After that, they extended the timeline for another 6 hours, and whoever could solve all the 4 test cases or 3 test cases, I guess, they were selected for the interview. And the interviews were on rolling basis. Like whoever was able to solve all the 4 test cases, they were calling them for the interview process. So, getting into the question, that question was kind of designing a Teen Patti game, the logic of a Teen Patti game, basically. So, in the interview also they were asking like how you have solved the question. So here's a tip that if you are solving a big question like that, try to keep your code modular, write classes, proper classes, that will keep your logic clean and your code clean.
So
And
like
it will
basically more of a design based question, right? Rather than a
yes,
DSA question.
kind of like you have to implement the logic along with writing a clean code, because they were asking like how you have coded in the online assessment.
Oh,
So
so
that
means
was
that code was forwarded to the interviews as well.
yes.
Okay. And
So
what
that
about the
was
technical rounds?
yes. So that was with the online assessment. Now in the first technical round, firstly they asked me how did you solve that question. Now I explained my logic. After that, they asked my interviewer asked me 2-3 basic DSA questions. After that, he went through my resume. Now in my resume, I had a application which was a freelancing application, a freelancing project which I did, and the application was deployed on Play Store, and it also handled a data of scale of 50,000 to 1 lakh. So uh, that those were written in the resume, and he asked that how did I do that, and different stuffs from that project. So explaining that, I explained that, and he was quite impressed with that. After that, he asked me 1 or 2 puzzles. Then my round 1 was done. After that, in the round two was the most challenging round, I would say, because in round 2, straight away he asked me to implement phone directory using tries. So I had to write the entire code in pen and paper. So that was a bit challenging, because many people do skip tries, and I also did try kind of 1 or 2 months before the interview, and I didn't brush that up, but I was able to solve that. And after that, he asked me how to overload cout operator in C++ because I didn't know Java, and the role was for basically for Java backend developer. Still, he gave me a chance, and I was asked to write the code of overloading the operator cout. So with that, my round 2 was done. In the round three was a director round. It was an online round, by the way. So the director first greeted me and then asked me some questions on DBMS, OOPS. So there were some very not so easy questions, I would say. In OOPS, like there were questions on unit testing, mocking. I knew something about unit testing, but I was not able to completely explain it to them. So that was with the round 3. I was a bit confused after round 3 that what would happen. But after that, in HR round, my HR conveyed to me that the offer was converted.
Right.
So
more focus was on the development and software engineering side rather than compared to DSA, right?
Yes, mostly CS fundamentals were very important, projects were important, and DSA were kind of on the easier side, I would say, in the round 1, but in round 2, they asked
Try
to
was it.
write
So
the
were you
entire.
asked to code up the entire try thing or like a pseudocode was asked?
No, the entire code. You have to write the try class, then implement the phone directory. Though I wrote the try class and I was implementing the phone directory logic till I was 50% done. He said that okay, you can go ahead.
And were you also asked to dry run on test cases or like they saw
No,
the pseudocode internship?
He just saw how I was writing the classes and the code.
Right. And all the rounds were online or were in pen paper mode?
In pen paper mode. Only the round 3 was online. That too in their space. Like they gave me a laptop and the round was online. Rest all the things were offline. Online assessment was also online, held in Telugu.
Right. So some final tips and tricks to all the core department juniors, like to
Yes.
crack an offer, technical offer. And how did you prepare?
So as it's written in the screen, DSA is not everything. Same goes for me as well. I did not do DSA like solving 1,000 and 2,000 questions on lead code. Yes, I did CP, I did lead code, but CS fundamentals are also equally important. Making good projects that stand out. Like if you have some projects which mimic the real world functionalities. Let's say I had a project in which I had a project which was similar to Book My Show. Okay, so that's a very common clone type project. But what I did extra was I added Redis caching to the APIs. Also, I did there was a reminder thing that if any user hasn't logged into the portal in last 1 day, then I was sending them a reminder mail every day 7 p.m.
Or notification type of thing.
Yes, a batch job kind of using
Batch
Redis and Celery. So these are some real world features that companies use, and this can catch the attention of the interviewer basically. So making your project stand out is one thing I would suggest. Give some time in your project, and yes, some companies which do want that you have backend projects in your resume. So try making a single project which has full stack capabilities. Like at least one project which has full stack. You can do rest of in ML, in blockchain, in front end, whatever you want, but at least keep one project in full stack so that you can be eligible for most of the companies, most of the variety of companies. Even in off campus, this really helps. Because I had other 2 interviews of campus. One is with Harness.io, that's a DevOps company. So that there the role was proper Python engineer. So tuning your resume according to that also helps. Like in while applying to that company, I removed my iOS and app development projects, and I included the mode of the ML and Python things. So tuning that helps. And yes, that's the all.
And one last question, like importance of system design in FE. Like nowadays, it's often a lot of the question, like a lot of the companies. So importance of system design and
Yes, system design. What I have seen personally is most of the startups which I applied to, like before Gupshup, I interned at Trading Leagues. Okay, so Trading Leagues is a startup founded by the founder of Upstocks. To put things in context. So uh, there, I did not had any online assessment. With my resume shortlisted, I directly had a interview with the technical team. So there directly they asked me to design a cart. Like in Flipkart, you have a cart along with coupon redemption system. So they asked me to design that. So personal experience, system designs are mostly asked in startups, and even some of my friends who have given interviews in other startups, mostly in Y Combinator based startups, they ask system design. So system design is getting more importance over the time. 2 or 3 years before, you would not hear much about system design, LLD, and machine coding rounds for SWE1 or internship. But nowadays, DSA is
becoming important.
on the low, and basically the bars are rising. DSA is not everything.
Yep. So thank you, Mia, for your wonderful insights, and
Sure.
it was wonderful having you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I guess we are done with all the interview experiences, and maybe one more time we will say something about the screening test. Maybe Anupam, if it's easier, or like.
I think we have discussed about the screening test. If anyone have any doubts, you can ask.
I guess we have no doubts remaining, so maybe we can wrap up the session, and all the details regarding screening test will be shared in due time. So
Most of the core departments have CTs tomorrow. That's why they will they are
Hmm.
they will watch the recording.
So thank you all the seniors for your wonderful interview experience. It was great having you all, and I'm sure we have learned a lot from you all. And thank you again for giving your time for this Code Club session. I'm looking forward to more such sessions, everyone. Thank you.